We now know that the Asus ROG Phone 2 is an exceptional gaming beast, the best out there. But how do the cameras stand out as opposed to the other gaming phones? Well, first off, we have a Sony IMX586 48 megapixel sensor as the main lens with an aperture of f1.8, meaning it will let quite a bit of light in, which means for a brighter shot at night. This comes paired with laser autofocus, which is good to see. And we also have a quad bay setup here, meaning it can get binded down to 12 megapixel for greater detailed shots when in dim lit conditions. Then our secondary lens is a 13 megapixel ultra-wide sensor with an aperture of f2.4, so things aren't going to look as great at night, and this doesn't have autofocus. But guys, this is the first ultra-wide sensor on a gaming phone ever, period. Then on the front of the display, we have that wonderful 6.59 inch AMOLED display, and above that we have the 24 megapixel f2.2 selfie snapper with no autofocus, but I'm sure it will take great pics. Guys, I hope that the camera samples come out looking just as great as this phone. This is TechNick, and without further ado, let's go. Okay guys, just to let you know, at the bottom right hand corner I have put an interval timer there, so if you want to skip past this part, you're more than welcome to. We're going to start with the camera UI over here, and as you guys can see, we have 12 megapixel and 48 megapixel option with the main camera. We also have ultra wide over there, though this is not able to shoot at 48 megapixels. Then we have 12 megapixel mode with portrait, and then at night mode we're also limited to just 12 megapixels as well. We don't have that 48 megapixel option, but what is nice to see is we have ultra wide at night mode as well, which is really cool. We'll be testing that out. There's also something called motion tracking, which is supposed to track your subject, though it didn't work too well, so I'm not going to put it in the video. Then with the video department, we have 4K all the way up to 60 FPS, which is great to see. Then in ultra wide we actually have HD, full HD at 60 FPS, which is really awesome. You don't really see that often. And then with the slow-mo, the highest we get is 480 FPS, though that is limited to just 720p. In the front, we have a 24 megapixel snapper, as I said before, and we're going to keep it on that for the purposes of this video. And then in the video department, we actually have full HD at 60 FPS with the selfie cam. Guys, that is unheard of if you ask me. So with these first couple photos over here, these are main day pics, guys, and we're just going to be looking at the difference between 48 megapixels and 12 megapixels binded on that 48 megapixels in the beginning here, just so that I can let you guys know that throughout the course of this video, we're going to be using the 12 megapixel binded shots because, as I'm sure you guys can clearly see here, they look much better. They honestly are filled with much more color, and they also preserve quite a lot of detail too, especially on days that aren't the brightest of days, and that is what I had here in Beijing. So what I was dealt with, that 12 megapixel suited every scenario the superb best, guys. I cannot tell you how much better the bind shots do look, and that is because of that quad bay setup, and they're using software interpolation to make them look really good. So if you look at all of these different photos over here, guys, the colors really do pop, and I must say that for a phone such as a gaming phone, the Asus ROG Phone 2, things look really detailed, but in certain parts of the picture, sometimes the detail is lacking. Now we're going to move on to ultra wide pics, guys. I'm going to show you the main picture and then the ultra wide pic. Keep an eye on the bottom left corner if you want to see which camera I am indeed using between the main and the ultra wide sensor. With the ultra wide pics, I do think that there is quite a lot of distortion, actually more so than most other phones there. Everything kind of looks blown out of proportion, like all the colors look soft and washed out compared to the main lens, and that is because the main lens is so strong. So when you do pair it with that ultra wide lens, you're not really going to want to use the ultra wide one because of how good the main lens really is. And we'll get to other shots later with the main lens, but if you guys look at how it's capturing the water at the bottom right there from the fountain, it actually captured it without blur with the main lens, a little bit of blur with the ultra wide, but nevertheless it was really awesome to see that it captured that. Now guys, we're looking at some more shots over here with ultra wide, looking at the sky, looking at a bit of the sun going behind the clouds. I think it looks pretty cool. And then we have a little bit of water reflection over here, and as you guys can see, the colors just get washed out with that ultra wide lens. Now taking a picture of the street over here, ultra wide doesn't tend to blur anything that's moving. That's really good to see. But as you guys can see with the main picture of this building over here, that red at the top of the building really got washed out with the ultra wide shot. Now guys, also feel free to pause as we go throughout this video if I'm going a bit too fast for you. And now we're going to be moving into some zoomed day pics. So we're going to show you the main over here after that ultra wide shot, 2x zoom. Now this is not optical, it is not digital either. 2x zoom over here is actually kind of software interpolated to make it more strong in a sense, to come out better, and it works really well in good daylight, I guess you could say. As you guys could see, the max that we have over here is 8x zoom, and when you get to that point, everything is just looking like absolute garbage. I think the max you can pretty much do here is 3, maybe 5 you could get away with, but that 2x optical zoom is not lossless, though it doesn't look terrible. It looks a lot better than, I would say, other digital zoomed phones that I have seen in the past year. And for a gaming phone, the 2x zoom over here does a pretty decent job. I'm actually glad that they left this to software and didn't pair a telephoto instead of an ultrawide, because I do think an ultrawide camera is a lot more useful than a telephoto camera, because I like to see more of what I'm looking at and not less. That's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think down below. Are you pro telephoto or are you pro ultrawide, guys? Let me know. I would really be interested to see what you guys have to say regarding that. Now we're gonna finish off with the zoom day pics over here, guys, and I did go see quite a few little temples and stuff throughout Beijing over here, and they looked really cool. And now we're gonna move over to portrait pics here. So the first couple portrait pics, we're just using that 12 megapixel binded main camera, and now we're gonna shift over to portrait mode over here. And as you guys can see, the subject is removed from the background quite a lot when we do kick in. So I'm going to show you a normal shot and then a portrait shot, but you guys can sometimes see a little bit of edge detection with the sampling of the portrait day pics, and sometimes other subjects around you also get picked up. So I do think that this is probably a software issue, and I'm sure that Asus will fix this going forward, but as of right now, you might have to take 1, 2, maybe 3 photos to get the perfect shot. I must say that sometimes it just worked off the bat, and it worked 100%. I didn't have any issues. Sometimes it would take a little bit of me away, but yeah, as you guys can see with my wife over here, you can see around her hair over there that some of the building is still showing, which is a bit odd. Now, talking about portrait day pics of objects, I think it does a really good job, maybe sometimes even better than of the subject being an actual person such as myself, but you guys can see that edge detection is not flawless, to say the least, guys, but I do think it does a pretty decent job of blurring the background and bringing the subject forward. It does a superb job indoor. And now, talking about indoor, we're going into indoor pics over here, as you guys can see at the bottom right hand corner. So I'm gonna show you guys a whole bunch of variety of portrait pics, normal pics, as well as ultra wide pics. So this was a really cool store that I saw here in Beijing. Don't even look at the prices of some of these things, they're just absolutely ridiculous. It's more of like a genuine antique postmodern lover of all the hero arts kind of thing going on there. And then this was a brewery. I do think that some indoor shots were just blown out of proportion like crazy when light hit the indoor shot of ultra wide. The camera really didn't like it, and it had a bit of issues with it, but sometimes I get some. So what I can kind of come away from indoor outdoor experience so far, guys, is that the Asus ROG Phone 2's camera setup is great, especially on paper. Oh, I just want to mention this quick, guys. Look at the light flares here. I did not edit this at all. I thought that looked absolutely stunning. But taking a picture of the beers over here, it looks really cool. But when you go into that zoom indoors, that's 2x zoom, guys. It just looks ugly. But anyway, now we're gonna move on to day video, guys. So we have 4K at 60 frames per second. Now this, I say at the bottom left, is raw because it is not upscaled. This is a 4K video, so the 1080p footage will be upscaled, and here it is. So that's 4K and 1080p both at 60 FPS. I think they're both really smooth. If anything, I actually think the 4K is a lot smoother than the full HD clip, even though they're both running at 60 FPS. As you guys can see in a different environment over here, it looks pretty good on both of them, but we had like a little bit of an autofocus issue over there for a second. I don't think it's anything too bad though, and in the full HD department, everything looks nice, crisp and clear as well. I think sometimes when you move a little bit too fast, it can be a little bit hard on the eyes, but it's like that with most phones, though that 60 FPS does help quite a lot. So I was on quite a big quad over here, had a lot of room to walk around and move around freely, and you can see how the greens on the trees just pop. They just look so awesome with the AI on this phone. I think it looks really, really cool, especially with all these temples over here, and everything is just so darn smooth here, guys. Now, one thing I want to mention after this is it's really awesome, and I can't get over the fact that we can shoot ultra wide full HD at 60 frames per second. Guys, I've never seen that. It has always been limited to 30, and I'm showing you a full HD clip right now, 60 FPS. This is not ultra wide, this is using the main lens, and we're about to jump into the ultra wide one now, so you'll see it in a second. You'll see what I mean. Here it is, guys. You have so much view here. It is so smooth. I must say, this is definitely one of the perks of the phone. You can see the quality has dipped a little bit, but it is just so smooth. Now in the slow motion department, we do have 480 FPS. Now I say this is upscaled because because that is just HD. If you want full HD, we're gonna have to jump to 240 FPS, so it's not as slow. But the 480 FPS footage, it just does not look good, guys. I've seen 960 FPS. Even the Nubia Red Magic 3's 1920 FPS slow motion looks better than the one on here, though that 240 full HD doesn't look too bad in my opinion. So now we're going to move over to some evening shots over here, guys, and as you guys can see, keep your eyes on the bottom left, night mode off, night mode on now. So we're off now, and as you guys can see, the pictures actually come out really similar with this shot especially. I think it has to do with the light, but in this situation, it does brighten things up a lot. It gives it like a brownish color though, and I don't know, like it uses too much of the color that it is seeing the most in the evening shots. I'm not sure if you guys understand what I am saying, but it kind of picks one color from the shot and uses that individual color to brighten everything up and kind of gives it like a highlight of the same color. Like you can see like a red blend over here, but it does make things brighter, so that's a good thing, but you lose a ton of detail, guys. Not to say that the main lens doesn't already lose a lot of detail. I mean, look at that. That looks absolutely terrible, but guys, I cannot emphasize how dark this was. This was pitch black. So to use night mode off in a pitch black scenario and get such results, I'm actually really impressed with night mode over here. I would have liked the details to be a little bit better in these scenarios, but nevertheless, I think it captures most of it. But ultra wide, on the other hand, we have a night mode option and it does slightly brighten it up. But guys, do not use ultra wide at night with the Asus ROG Phone 2. Everything is blown, even with some light. It's just all the colors are just gone. The detail is gone. It's just, there's so much pixelization happening. I don't know if this is a software issue. I'm sure Asus will fix it if it is. It doesn't look terrible, but taking some portrait pictures, guys, don't do this either. It really doesn't do the phone any justice with the portrait. I'm pitch black there. So now, guys, we also have some night video over here. This is 4K 60 FPS, but I'm not sure if you guys can actually see. It's almost like there's a split halfway through the screen over there, showing us a different shade on the left and a different shade on the right. Now, this really worried me because I thought this was actually a hardware issue, but I did some tests of other video right after this, as you guys will see in a second, and that is gone. You have to have a fine eye for it, but I pick up on these things, guys, and now 4K 30 FPS, I threw 30 FPS in here because you can't see that shift in tint on the left and the right of the screen at all. It's completely gone, which means there's a software error with the 60 FPS. I'm sure this will be fixed. Like I said earlier, guys, with the global launch, I'm sure you won't have that issue. Ultra wide, full HD 60 FPS is great, but at night, guys, do not use this. It looks like crap, guys. I'm sorry, it looks absolutely terrible. Okay, guys, we're gonna leave all that behind and move on to the selfie department. So we have some selfie pics over here. I'm gonna be shifting from regular and then to portrait, and I honestly sometimes feel like the selfie shots look better than the back camera shots. I mean, look how much detail is on my facial hair, guys. I don't know if I've seen that amount of detail of my face in many phones before, unless they're top tier phones that are not gaming phones especially. So I'm actually really impressed, and I actually think the background blur is a lot better with the selfie cam. I'm not sure if this has to do with a software issue on the back cameras, but I'm really all for the selfie cam, guys. It is one of my favorite selfie cameras I've ever used. So if you're a selfie lover, you will definitely be happy to hear that. Not to say that the back cameras are bad. I think they're pretty good. I just think that they do need some software upgrades to utilize the specs that are there, because they are so amazing, and I just want Asus to fly with that. But guys, this is a gaming phone, so you can't really complain. The photos are still on par with most. Hey guys, so this is the Asus ROG Phone 2 selfie cam video test in full HD. This is set to 30 FPS at the current moment. So this is mainly to test out the mic and to show you guys the difference between 30 and 60 FPS using the selfie cam. So now this is the same video once again using the selfie cam at full HD, though this time we're running at 60 frames per second. Pretty much the first that I've really seen 60 frames per second on a selfie cam in the front, which is really awesome to see, guys. Let me know what you guys think of the quality of the video as well as the microphone testing. Okay guys, so let me know what you guys think of the selfie cam video in the front. I'm really impressed that Asus have paired in 1080p with 60 FPS. That just shows you the quality of the processing chip of this phone, as well as the quality of the selfie cam. And taking some pics at night, it doesn't look terrible. I would actually say the portrait mode is in essence a night mode. Look how much brighter it gets. It actually takes a really great shot. And the recording at night is not the best, maybe even better than the back cams. But like I said, the back cams, I can't be too hard on them, guys. They have just recently released the phone. Guys, the Asus ROG Phone 2 is an incredible phone, to say the least. Is it the best camera phone out there? No. But guys, this is certainly one of the best cameras on a gaming phone I have ever seen. And with that ultra-wide camera, it really makes for a great all-around camera setup. And until next time, guys, this is TechNick.